From the same developer who made MacBat64 and Kiwi64, which I've covered before, here's Toree 3D. I enjoyed those games enough and was up late with nothing to do one night and decided, those games cost almost nothing to buy, I'll get another one done. The game is about Toree trying to get their ice cream back from Glitchy the Grim Reaper. When I start the game I'm given the character select, of which only Toree is available at first, although I absolutely recognise one of those silhouettes. Then comes stage selection and I start with Glamour City. I get dropped in and there's Glitchy taking off with that ice cream. There's also stars to collect on the way, with this level having 95. If you're wondering why I'm not running, I haven't discovered I can yet, despite all the signs telling me I can. Toree can also double jump and the first enemy is this sort of toothy duck thing. There's 15 stars across these rooftops before I have to turn the camera. We start to get robot bees between the buildings then. Over the next few rooftops to the checkpoint with another 11 stars picked up. Starting at the next roof we have fans to ride the wind from up as this gigantic star decides to watch my gameplay very closely. Just 3 stars over those roofs before the conveyors start showing up. Follow all the conveyors to the end, grabbing another 15 stars. Then a series of fans to float across, followed by a second set with bees flying between them. 5 more stars to this platform on a crane that moves to the next platform. Across them to the next building is a further 13 stars. Another pair of platforms from a crane with 7 more stars and another 8 on the building it leads to. More fans followed by more cranes with a further 14 stars on the way. Then one last set of conveyors before I reach the goal. Of course, because I didn't know I could run, I had a terrible finishing time with a rank C. But I've learned next time. But what I haven't learned is that the rank is only decided by time, and I end up with another C because I made sure to collect every star again. The game logs those two things separately. This one only took until my 3rd run and 2nd attempt at the A rank. So what I'll do is I will show sped up versions of my rank A runs to show how they went for me, and only go into extra detail on speedruns if there's anything extra I need to bring up. Moving on, we have Sea Mama's Harbour next. First running up a few steps to 7 stars before riding the wind up and jumping across the next 2 platforms to the next fan, with a huge octopus tentacle moving the platforms. Another 12 stars during that. Now stars will be inside the wind tunnels. Cross a couple more with 9 more stars to the checkpoint. Ride another one up with 3 inside and 3 at the top. This is followed by a long series of wind tunnels to cross with bees between some of them. Past that are a series of horizontal wind tunnels pushing me forward as I have to jump between the platforms. 9 stars on the way to the next vertical one, but if I missed one it can be a pain going back to get it. Up another tunnel to 3 more stars and another checkpoint. Then more wind tunnels to more horizontal ones trying to push me off a narrow ledge. The last 4 stars are here, but I fall trying to ride the next tunnel up and land at the beginning. It takes a while before I remember my checkpoint and jump into the water to kill myself and respawn there. I ride those last 3 tunnels to the goal, and of course I had to get a C after that mistake. My first attempt at the speedrun afterwards gets me the A. Up next is Slidey Ice. I know I've said it so many times before, but I love nighttime snowy stages in games like this. I get going across these icy turns with the usual ice physics. 23 stars across these first few. Then comes the icy slide and then some snowy platforms to climb and gaps to jump, adding another 13 stars when I reach the top. Another ice bridge with 4 stars before I get running along an uphill ice bridge. Gotta be careful not to fall off, especially when going for the stars. There's 17 while going up here to the checkpoint. Now comes a long series of slides with the odd bit of flat ground between them. After a few normal slides they start adding fences that I need to jump over. Not a big deal for a casual run, but definitely something to keep in mind for the speedrun. The remaining 19 stars are found in this section as a big toothy jump scare appears near the end to make you think you're gonna get eaten. At the end of the last slide is the end of the level. Another rank C. The A rank only takes 2 more attempts due to me dropping off the stage on the first attempt. For our fourth level, it's near Osaka. This one has me jumping across a series of very rectangular buses and trucks. Most of them stay in pretty much the same spot, but there are some that pull slightly ahead or fall back a little. 16 stars on the way to the first checkpoint. After that, some of the trucks start having icy trailers. Another 9 stars on the way to a series of trucks with wind tunnels coming out of their roofs. Most of these have a star at the very top. That's another 9 added to the total, followed by a few buses leading to a second checkpoint. Though I do splatter Toree against the road before reaching it first time. From the checkpoint there is a long stretch of moving trucks to jump across, followed by more icy ones before a third checkpoint. 20 stars during that stretch. Then the final stretch is a series of trucks with conveyor roofs forcing me forward, a couple that are also moving, before I reach the goal. As I reach the end, this staticky noise gets louder and louder. I got a B this time. This is the first speedrun I had some trouble with. The combination of moving vehicles and trying to cut corners to save time resulted in many falls and restarts. Moving on to the second row of levels, the fifth stage is Starry Sky. We were back in the pink city from the first level, but now those giant stars are everywhere. First is a series of conveyors, and as I get further in, some stars turn red and evil and try to chase me down with that static noise from the end of the last level. That would be Glitch's continued effect on the world. I reached the end of the conveyors having picked up 22 of 70 stars before taking some wind tunnels to the checkpoint. I ride the crane platform to a series of buildings requiring more wind tunnels to climb. There's 4 stars before I reach the top and get another 8 across this conveyor while another star tries closing in on me. Then another crane ride to the second checkpoint. 4 stars across the conveyor and then a large drop to a series of sloped platforms. I get 10 stars before I hit a B and die. Continuing along the platform for a further 9 stars before running along a conveyor to the third checkpoint. 4 more stars on the way to more wind tunnels. I get a nice big view of the evil stars from this bit. At the top I now have whole buildings moving around and kinda quick too. Get across them for one more conveyor with the last 6 stars and a tear in the fabric of the world showing some of the game's code. I pass through to find Glitchy taunting Toree with their ice cream. He then disappears with it and I have one last crane to ride to the end. The first speedrun attempt had been missed at A rank time by seconds, but after I die on the second attempt, I get it on the third. Windy Ocean next, back in the very Metal Harbour looking stage that's above it on the stage select. First, between the 2 wind tunnels beside me when I start and the little bit of ground before the conveyors, there's 12 stars. Then comes running up a conveyor to a wind tunnel that drops me to a platform with another 9 stars before taking a diagonal tunnel to the first checkpoint. Now for the series of conveyors leading to wind tunnels that launch me up to more conveyors that lead to more wind tunnels. During that stretch there's 19 stars and 2 more checkpoints. Then comes 2 floors with several wind tunnels connecting them. Clearing out the bottom floor gets me 16 more stars before I trick myself into dropping further down the level thinking it was a hidden area. I get back and ride to the second floor for 2 more stars and a tunnel launching me to a pair of aircraft carriers covered in conveyors. On the first one the remaining 6 stars are hidden behind the scenery and then I can make a run for the end. This A rank I get on the first attempt. The second ice level next, Hungry Mountain Peak. I first have a hill to run up with giant fanged snowballs popping out of the ground. Then a curved ice bridge towards the first checkpoint, all with 16 stars on the way. Climb some moving platforms and get going across another curved ice bridge with 13 more stars between me and some moving ice platforms. They lead to a second checkpoint, and then I have some more moving platforms and 4 more stars before I already reach the third checkpoint. Now I have a pair of long ice slides, covered in both evil snowballs and stars to watch out for on the way down. These slides contain all of the remaining 47 stars, and if you miss one, it's quite the struggle inching your way back up to grab it. At the bottom is the goal. Another A rank I then get first try.
Showtime!
Then the second motorway stage, Edge Runner. More vehicles, more complex layout. I start with 2 stars in front of me. A little bit in, there are 4 trucks lined up with another 12 stars on them before I take a wind tunnel to a bus with 2 more stars and the first checkpoint. Then another 2 hiding on the back. Another 2 on a bus next to a conveyor truck. Then after dying, I take the ice truck to a conveyor truck with a further 14 stars, though it does take a few journeys thanks to bees covering the place. I next launch myself off a conveyor to a bus with 3 more stars. Past that is an ice truck with a conveyor hanging off the edge. I get 9 more stars and jump the fence, but land in the road again. I make the jump next time for 2 more stars and the next checkpoint. 5 buses grouped together are next carrying a total of 18 stars between them. A series of trucks with just 2 stars on them before I reach another conveyor back to the first highway. 1 star to another conveyor back to the second with 4 more stars in front of it. That gets me the 4th checkpoint. Now for a wind tunnel taking me to a 3rd highway hidden above this one. The remaining 14 stars are dotted around various cramped vehicles here with the goal in plain sight. This A rank took a few attempts thanks to the same reasons the first highway level did. With all the normal levels completed, I now have access to its world. This is made up of parts of all 4 previous level types with giant glitches everywhere. First a series of circular metal grates across with 9 stars across them. I then have to jump down onto this sloped building and run up it while avoiding the wind tunnels blowing down. 5 more stars before I move on to the upwards ice bridge. Another 6 stars and I reach the first checkpoint. The broken ice platforms to the sides are just a distraction that get me killed. Behind the checkpoint is an ice slide. It leads to a building with 3 stars followed by another 4 after riding the wind tunnel up. This leads to another highway with another 5 stars on the way to the second checkpoint and a crane ride. A long series of crane rides that take me to a floating truck with 3 stars and a series of floating vehicles leading to the 3rd checkpoint on parts of the sea levels. 4 stars and then comes a series of conveyors and wind tunnels. The rest of the level stars are on the first part of this before I get launched into one long sequence of conveyors leading to the goal holding Toree's ice cream. My ending is just the credits, but I get this cute image of Toree finally getting to enjoy their ice cream. Having collected all the stars in the 9 levels, I unlocked Macbat from Macbat64 as a playable character. I still have an A rank to get though. This one takes another 4 attempts. Getting all 9 A ranks unlocks Tasty from a game I haven't played yet. But I'm not done. There are 4 remix stages that were added to the original game after the release of the second game, I believe. First up is Ducktown Throwdown. This one has a massive 187 stars to collect. The name of this level is from the fact that many floors are just crawling with the duck enemies. Running to the wind tunnel at the end of the first set of buildings, I have 37 stars already. Then taking the wind tunnel to this little balcony with a giant duck running along it, I get another 14 stars on the way to a series of wind tunnels to the next balconies. I get another 8 stars up here before I ride more tunnels to reach the roof. I navigate around the ducks for 10 more stars and then another 2 getting on this crane platform. At the end is another 4 more as I drop down to the first checkpoint. 3 more turning the corner to this conveyor and another 3 more at the end before I screw up jumping the wind tunnel and die. I jump across to the next conveyor for 10 more stars and another 6 when it slopes down. This next roof has a few floors separated by wind tunnels. Combined, they hold 24 stars before I ride a conveyor to the next roof, but die again. The checkpoint is here along with stars on the pillars and wind tunnels along the opposite side of the building. That's 14 more stars before I land on the crane platform for 1 more. Where it stops, I gain 4 more when I drop to the next. Then a series of conveyors with 2 more stars before I drop down to a roof with 1 more. But then comes a series of conveyors covered in ducks while buildings are zooming back and forth through them. This part takes me 3 tries to get through, and the building at the end has a hole to drop through with 8 stars that drops me on the final checkpoint. The goal is in sight and easy to get to, but all these conveyors leading to it are hiding another 30 stars. I reach the end and see that I'm missing 6 stars. I have no idea where I could have missed them and have to start the stage again. Turns out they're right at the start. To the left is a platform with the missing 6. Then run through the level again and finish it with everything. With a final time of nearly 6.5 minutes, you'd think the speedrun was a nightmare, but I actually get that A rank first try. Moving on to the second bonus level, next is Fraught Freeze, a not quite as giant in comparison 105 stars this time, 10 of which are on the starting 2 platforms. Then down a slide avoiding evil snowballs for 6 stars. Jump to the next and go down that one for 11 more stars. I build up speed and jump to a conveyor with 4 stars that drops me onto another slide with 1 star at the top and 6 more at the bottom. But I miss one and kill myself to get back and get it next time. I then land on the first checkpoint. And now I have a huge sea of tiny platforms to traverse for stars while avoiding bees. Between them are 11 stars and at the end is the second checkpoint. Conveyors and ice platforms with thin gaps I can run over like in a Mario game. 9 stars from this part. Downhill for 2 more stars and further down for the third checkpoint. An incredibly narrow path with 8 stars while a glitched star comes right at me. I avoid it by taking the conveyors around it to find more platforms with thin gaps, but I fall between them going for a star. They lead to a maze-like platform that's both icy and very thin, with stars all around it, and I still have the glitch star coming for me. I get 4 more stars before I die again. Next try I don't even get 1 before I die. Another 4 before death, then 2 more, then 4 more, then the last 3 before I reach a slide down to the 4th checkpoint. There's a safe route here and a more dangerous but quicker icy route, but I just take the safe one this time. At the end is a pair of slides to the goal with the remaining 17 stars. Now I have a huge amount of time to cut for that A rank, which takes a few tries as I work out what corners I can and can't cut. Just 2 left, next is Wild Wild Winds. First I have to drop down to ride the wind to a platform with 6 stars, then 3 more going up the conveyor to the next wind tunnel. It leads to a big square platform with 24 more stars before I take another wind tunnel. It puts me on a platform with 9 more stars and a long ascending curved set of conveyors. It takes me to a building covered in stars with the first checkpoint inside. Along the windows and across the roof, spelling out the developer Ciactro, there's a combined 69 stars. Then there's a series of horizontal wind tunnels I have to carefully navigate without getting pushed away. But I fail first time. It takes a few tries, but I eventually make it to the tower covered in vertical tunnels. Halfway up, more horizontal ones are thrown into the mix, but I make it to the top first try and reach the second checkpoint. Now conveyors are covered in wind tunnels with stars dotted about where I get killed by one of the 2 bees here. There are 6 stars across this part before another stretch of horizontal wind tunnels. But this time I decide balls to the wind and jump across the thin metal grating the wind is coming from. At the end is the 4th checkpoint and a series of conveyors going up with 5 more stars on the way. Now for conveyors with wind tunnels trying to push me back. Past that is this checkered sequence of conveyors and stable ground with 16 more stars before I reach the next series of wind tunnels that dump me down a hole with the remaining 17 stars and drop me in front of the goal. That's the shortest first completion of the remix level so far. The speedrun here takes more attempts than any other, due to both the trickiness of moving in the wind and also the amount of B ranks I keep getting. And that just leaves Mama Goes to Town as the final level. Back to the Neon Highway to find 179 more stars. The initial B-covered conveyors get me to 51 stars already. Past that is a conveyor going up to a giant wind tunnel that launches me into the sky and drops me by the first checkpoint. I now have 3 conveyors to navigate, also covered with bees, and now floating buses that like to block my progress for a second. This long section gets me a further 34 stars. Then another conveyor to another giant wind tunnel to another checkpoint, this one having 2 stars next to it. Now I have 2 conveyors in the middle with a slanted conveyor on each side, plus a big wall of bees halfway through, and chunks of conveyor disappearing, and the odd truck as well, and then later a series of moving buses blocking the path at varying speeds. This whole section adds another 51 stars to my total. We then do the usual conveyor and tunnel dance to reach the game's final checkpoint. Conveyors everywhere, stationary trucks everywhere, moving buses everywhere, and bees everywhere. I get another 35 stars before I see this rising conveyor off to the side. I take that up and have to platform across conveyors in the sky absolutely covered in bees to drop myself in front of the last 6 stars before I reach the goal. That is every star in the game collected. Then that speedrun only takes me 3 attempts. With that, the game is completed, but I do have a quick look at those other 2 characters. The game doesn't log level completions as them, they get no ranks, so I didn't feel the need to try them out beyond a single level. Macbat has his infinite flight from the end of his own game, which allows you to explore parts of levels you shouldn't be able to, and find things like these guys hanging out on one of the stars. On the other hand, Tasty is just a faster version of Toree, if you want to do even faster speedruns. And there's Toree 3D. I liked the other 2 Ciactro games I played earlier on this level, but this one is my favourite of the 3 so far. First level runs I tended to find very relaxing with the great music combined with those simple low poly visuals, especially the colours used on most stages. But then I also got really into those speedruns because when running at full speed, Toree felt really good to control. Everything from speed, turning and jumping felt just right. With this 3rd game, I'm really starting to appreciate this developer's work, pumping out these very low priced games that give you that quick boost of N64 nostalgia, while also just being a fun hour or 2 in its own right. They're also a godsend for this channel when I'm sort of stuck between long games and struggling to decide on something short to support them, but I don't want to fall back on my usual crutch of an arcade beat 'em up. I definitely intend to cover more games from this developer and even have another one already recorded, but my planned video schedule for the next few months is cramped, so I have no idea when I'm going to be able to fit it in yet.